Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Ready, Set, Rise. You're here with your host, Michael Ciervo. I'm really excited because Ready, Set, Rise essentially stands for Real Individuals Sharing Excellence. We talk about how to mentally get yourself ready physically and spiritually. Of course, set yourself up for success, and then hear from some amazing guests on how they elevated their lives and elevated themselves up to excellence. You know, one thing that I love about sitting in this chair is the guest in front of me. I have an amazing opportunity to sit in front of some fantastic people. And when I think about the person who's sitting right in front of me over the next hour, there's one word that comes to mind. The word is winner. Absolute winner. So my next guest, she was born and raised in a farming community of Wetaskiwin, Alberta. She traveled at the age of 20 from Calgary, from Wetaskiwin all the way to Calgary, and she stumbled on real estate, which is where she is today. And after she met with a well-meaning businessman, of course, he challenged her that she wouldn't make more than $100,000, and, well, she proved him wrong. She's done more than that and multiples of that. Now, after close to 20 years of business, she's proven all of the haters wrong, and she now has the number one team of the number one RE/MAX office in the world. She continues to be a master of her craft. She builds an amazing brand. She's a mentor of a Rockstar team here in Calgary. She is a member of the Chairman's Club, Diamonds Club, $1 Million Club, President's Club, and consistently one of the top realtors in Alberta. And she is voted Calgary's kindest realtor, according to me and my wife. It's an honor to have the one, the only, Miss Tanya Eklund. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me, Michael. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
No, thank you. And welcome to Ready, Set, Rise. Now, just to start off the show, one thing we ask all of our guests is, do you have one quote or a motto that you currently live by?
Yes, it's actually in the book of Proverbs. And I know there's going to come a day when one of my daughters is going to say, Mom, let's get a tattoo. And I'm going to be like, no. But if I do, I would get it in Hebrew. And it's, I am clothed with strength and dignity and laugh without fear of the future.
Wow. Why did you choose that one of all the traditional memes you see on Instagram? That is a really specific one.
You know what? I had heard it a number of years ago, probably when I first joined Instagram. It was one of the first quotes that I had put on Instagram, and it just really spoke to me, going through trials and tribulations and rejection in my business. And it's one verse that always rings true to me in my life. And when I'm having a hard day or a bad week or a bad month or 2020, I really come back to that quote all of the time.
Awesome. It's just like an anchor to where you are in your life. That's amazing.
Yes.
Now, you traveled or you moved. You're born and raised in Wetaskiwin, Alberta. And, you know, I was reading your story and I was thinking, are you familiar with the hero's journey?
No.
So the hero's journey, a hero goes on their journey. They stumble onto a choice, right? So in the Matrix, it's the red pill or the blue pill. And you choose one of those choices. You face a dragon or a demon or whatever it might be. You come back and you slay it and you teach people what you just learned. So earlier on, your first choice of the red pill or the blue pill was, and this is going to solve a lot of problems here, is it Calgary or Edmonton? You could have gone to one of them.
It was a really easy decision. Well, actually, I went to university in Edmonton at U of A, and so I lived there for almost 3 years. And I was from a really small town. I had never lived in a city. So at the time, Edmonton was this big city. And then I had, an opportunity to have a taste of Calgary.
Right.
And Calgary's my home.
Wow. So, you know what? But in Edmonton, some good places in Edmonton.
Some great places,
right?
Great people.
Fantastic festivals. But tell me a little bit about Wetaskiwin, because, I mean, we know all the accolades, but sometimes I want to take a look at, like, how did it all start?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in a rural community, and I went to a country school called Rosebriar, where from K to 9 there was just under 90 kids, or just over 90 kids. And so I went to school with the same 8 to 9 kids from K to 9.
Yeah.
And I left the school in grade 8 and went to, the city school, the big metropolis of Wetaskiwin, and which was really a blessing because I got into sports, into volleyball, which led to high school ball, which led me playing college ball. So it was a really great opportunity. And my father was a minister. He was also a nurse. My mother was a nurse. So I came from a family that were real servants to others and within the community. And that is something that they fostered in myself, and it's just a part of my blood. And I'm really grateful for the upbringing that I had. I couldn't ever move back to the country, though my roots are still near and dear to my heart.
Do you miss anything about growing up there?
No.
I love the honesty. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I cherish so many memories, and there's a part of me that really wishes we could give that to our girls, but that's not who we are today. And we're very urban people.
Right.
But my husband is also from a farming community. He grew up on a feedlot. We actually grew up 9 miles from each other and met 14 years ago in Calgary.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes. So the big joke with my friends was I would never marry a guy from Wetaskiwin, but I married a guy from Ponoka.
Oh, well, yeah, Ponoka's there's some great people in Ponoka. I know
Yeah. So, and then, I went to university and I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. And so I, started my undergrad in a couple of different degrees and then realized that university maybe wasn't my forte. I was not academic. I didn't retain information well. Looking back, I might even have been like a little ADD, or even I know I had test anxiety. It wasn't a thing then.
Right.
And so I left university and moved to Calgary, and that was the start of my career. But I always credit my upbringing to who I am today. I'm still very close with my parents. In fact, when I was pulling up, I was talking to them. I'm like, okay, I got to let you go. I'm just doing this podcast. Yeah. And so, I have a very tight-knit family, and I'm very blessed for that.
That's amazing. And when you were in university, you took linguistics and anthropology.
Yes.
Right? So,
yes.
I mean, was there anything out of those disciplines that you took away from it?
No.
I think you'd be a great lawyer, by the way.
Thank you. Well, and growing up in a small town, they didn't really have the guidance that they do today. So if you want to be a lawyer, maybe you take poli-sci or business or finance. Nope. I took linguistics and anthropology. And you know what? In hindsight, it didn't really matter. I had 3 years of what I chalk up to be some expensive life experience and some debt. I have no regrets. It led me to where I am today.
You know, where it led you to where you are today was a pivotal turning point when a well-intentioned man, right? So this is out there. But for some of the guests who don't know you, I listened to this story, and there are a lot of haters out there. Can you walk me through that experience of that person that challenged you? And because I thought it was quite compelling, and I was thinking to myself, at the end of that challenge, did you point your fingers and say, "I'm going to show you"? And then, how was it?
Yeah, I went to RE/MAX Central in 2000, and at the time, it had been the #1 RE/MAX office in the world. And I just wanted to correct you at the beginning because I joke and say my crown fell off last year. I was the #1 agent at the #1 office in the world. Last year, I was the #2 agent at the #2 office in the world.
Okay. So
that's maybe some old information. So just for my licensing purposes, I want to make sure I'm giving you accurate information. But yeah, so I went into this brokerage, and it was mainly men. Right. I mean, it was a men-dominated industry for many, many years. And so I walk in, I'm 20, I hadn't sold a shoe, let alone a home, and my broker looks at me and he's like, "Well, I can't put you with any of the men in my office, as to match up for partnerships." Right. And so I walked around, I felt with a bit of a bullet on my back because I was an anomaly to, the standard realtor at the office at that time. And a gentleman approached me. I was in this open area, I think photocopying something, and he said, "So, this is me, and who are you?" And he said, "So, what are your goals this year?" And I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, I've only been here 2 months, buddy. Leave me alone."
Yeah.
And so I made up something and I said, I'm going to make $100,000. Now this is going back to 2000, $100,000 then is much different than $100,000 now. And he looked at me and he's like, "Oh, good luck with that," know, and kind of just walked away. And I was really taken back. I was a bit insulted. And then of course the doubt rolls in and he's like, I'm thinking, he's probably right. But then it turned around very quickly and I'm like, no. If I've said that, I've declared it, and I'm going to work my patootie off, and I'm going to do that. And I did. And about 16 years later, that gentleman came back to me and asked to join my team.
No way.
Yes.
Is he still part of the team? Or?
No, he never was on my team.
Oh, he was never on your team.
No. And, he's actually a lovely gentleman. It just wasn't a fit for my team,
Right.
and I wasn't looking for anybody. But it was very interesting to me. And to be honest, I don't even know if he remembers, because that probably didn't impact him like it impacted me.
Right. It's interesting. I don't know if you ever follow Steve Harvey at all.
Yes. Yeah.
So Steve, great motivational speaker,
Yes.
but he sends his old teacher a television
Yes.
every single year because she said, you're never going to make it on television. So here's a television, right? So, I mean, maybe you should photocopy your T4 and send it to him. He's like, here's about that 100,000, right? Do you ever have to prove haters wrong? I mean, because I find that the real estate industry is super competitive.
I don't feel that recently. Probably when I started to see some success, when I got into it, I knew that I wanted to be an inner city realtor, and that's where I specialize. That's the foundation of the Tanya Eklund Group, is inner city. And it's a really hard area to get into because you have realtors that have traded in real estate there for 30, 40 years. Mm-hmm. And so there's a bit of an allegiance to these realtors. And so I knew I was going to have my work cut out for me. And then once you start to see a little bit of success, it wasn't actually hate. It was actually some of the women that would come. And I felt like instead of them talking down to me, they spoke equally to me. And that's when I kind of felt, I proved myself. I've worked hard. I've cold called. I've door knocked. I've slaved. I've, and so I don't know what is said, sometimes behind your back, but frankly, I don't care. And I have developed a real rapport with the really great realtors in my industry, and I've worked hard on it. Mm-hmm. And I think, to your point, it is a perception that realtors are against each other. And I think for some realtors it is, but I think for the really good realtors, we really kind of band and work together. And I really feel more of a sense of camaraderie versus a sense of competition. And when I speak at some engagements, one of the things that I speak about is don't wish away your competition, because your competition is what is going to want you to achieve a higher level of success. Right. And my husband, this was a number of years ago, and I kept losing out to this woman who is actually a friend of mine. She's lovely, but I don't admit that to anybody. Mm-hmm. And I kept losing out to her, and I was like, and I came home just shattered because I think I lost 3 listings to her in a week, and I was wishing her away. And that's what my husband said. He's like, Tanya, don't wish her away. And so I preach that because healthy competition you will want to improve. So after my husband said that, in all of his wise wisdom, I hired a sales coach after 15 or 16 years of being a realtor. And now I don't want to say I'm dominating, but I'm definitely a prevalent realtor in those areas. And so just that was a little nugget that I took away from competition.
So was competition always something that was ingrained? You played sports. Mm-hmm. I'm imagining this is something that was part of your DNA.
Yeah, absolutely. And, my business coach helped me refrain some of the perception that I had in my business of I would always feel that maybe there was more conflict. When conflict can really be a conversation, you have to reframe. So I would look at certain things in my business, whether it be the competitiveness, losing a listing, having a hard conversation with a client. And we really kind of dug down as to why I thought that was conflict. And he said, but why does it have to be conflict? It's just a conversation that you're having with them. And so I've really worked on kind of my emotional intelligence and reframing that, and that's really helped me.
Right. It's, you say a lot of really good things, and what I like about you is that you're actually authentic about it. You live it. It's easy to talk about competition, say nice things about competition, and behind their back, you're stabbing them, saying all this other stuff. I saw a post of you and Justin Haver, and you actually said, he's like, hey, look, it's okay. It's good to have competition, right?
Yeah.
And you spent an hour conversation.
Yeah, and I think, Justin and I were at a coffee shop, and it was just, I had never really even met Justin, but you know what? I respect him. He's built a really admirable business, and it's very different than my business. And different isn't better. It's just different.
Right.
And I have the utmost respect for him, as I do a lot of my other colleagues who have. It's a lot of work,
Right.
whether you're building a team of 40 or whether you're the number one agent in the city based on gross sales volume. It's a lot of work.
Do you find that every single year you start from scratch, it start from zero, the grind is constantly, you have to prove yourself every single year?
I felt that at the beginning, Michael, for sure, for probably the first 10 or 12 years of my career. I don't necessarily feel that anymore because, it's almost like a residual. Like 87% of my business is past clients and referrals.
Right.
So it's not that grinding prospect. But, there's still one or two things like in my business that I loathe. Like sometimes people say, oh, what do you love about real estate? And I'm thinking, just ask me what I don't love, because there's only one or two things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say it's not necessarily starting from scratch. I don't have to do the cold calling and the door knocking anymore, but it comes with a different set of issues and obstacles and things that you have to overcome. I mean, when I started, I'd be lucky to have a listing, and now, depending on the time of year, I'll have 30 to 55 listings. So for one person, that's a lot.
And when I introduce you as the most authentic and kindest realtor in Calgary, according to my wife and I, right? It's actually true, because I find that a lot of realtors are so desperate for the business. They'll do whatever for that listing. How we met was, one, I stumbled on a book at a garage sale, and I was reading through the book. That's how I found you.
Yes, you told me that.
Right?
I didn't know it was a garage sale, but it was a book.
Yeah, it was a book.
Yeah.
And I read it, and I was like, oh, what a wonderful lady. And then so I reached out to you, and I started to do a little bit of research on who you were. And my wife and I said, look, let's try to sell this. She looks like she knows what she's doing. She's going to help us. What I loved about this humility you had, one, you got back to me very quickly, and I think it's huge for a salesperson to get back. But you said, hey, Mike, I don't think this is the right listing. Like, you're honest enough, versus I had a few realtors try to sell that property, and they didn't do it. So you didn't waste my time, you didn't waste your time, and you had this humility where sometimes when you're at that level of success, you think you could take on everything. Where did you find that humility? You're just such a down-to-earth person. That's why we said, she's so nice.
I think like trial and error. If you would have asked me that 15 years ago, I would have taken your listing.
Yeah.
And I really try to focus on the listings that I really believe that I can sell. And if I don't believe I can sell it, and I don't believe the price is something that I can sell it in this market, then I don't want to, I'd rather disappoint you now than 3-4 months from now.
Right.
And it's taken a long time. It's probably only been in the last 3-4 years that I've been really hard on listing and prices and not taking listings. And even just last week, or I guess it's been 2 weeks now, I let a listing go that I basically had for, $1.4 million, and they wanted a higher price, and it's a difficult house. And I just thought, all I pictured is myself sitting on a beach in Maui in 3 weeks if we get there.
Right.
And, the seller asking me, why hasn't their home sold, and what am I doing? And I thought, I can't meet her expectation to begin with because of price. And so it's easy for me to say no now. I think too, a part of it is you get to a point in your career where it's, you took it before because you needed it. Right. And you were like, well, my gut is telling me no, but what if? What if I can sell it? And now I don't have what ifs.
Right. That's amazing. Has there ever been a situation where you just took on a listing and you're like, why the heck did I do this? Like,
100%, Michael.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably more than 100 of those in my career. I mean, you do that when you start. There was an old adage that someone told me that you can't sell what you don't list, essentially, right? And so, or you can't reduce what you don't have. So take the listing higher, keep making them reduce. I'm not into that anymore. I want as simplistic of a life as possible. One of the things I loathe is asking sellers for price reductions. So if I can, forego that from the beginning, then I'm a much happy camper.
What's the worst experience you've ever had as a realtor? Because you love it.
I
and
do.
you said, hey, look, ask me the things I don't like about it.
Well, that would be the number one, is asking for price reductions,
Right.
because it's this, you have to call your clients, and it's this sense of, I haven't sold your house and it's not selling for what we thought. And sometimes it's a mixture of the seller's price. Sometimes it's, I don't always get price right.
Right.
And it's just that kind of that, again, I've had to change it to, it's a conversation. It used to be conflict for me. It's just something that isn't fun. The most difficult situation, I've had to deal with a few clients with mental illness.
Okay.
And so very difficult situations. Our climate now, dealing with divorces, very difficult situation. You're dealing with heightened emotions, financial insecurity, emotional dependency. Like, there's so many things that are involved. We're not just realtors. We become friends, psychologists. There's so much more to it when you really dive deep, especially for experienced realtors. There has to be a real connection. And I do have the ability to connect with my clients, and sometimes that's very emotionally draining.
Well, and the thing is, you are privy to a lot of personal things, especially if there is a divorce. I mean, people don't know the reason why houses are sold, and it could be messy, right? So I could see how that could be emotionally draining,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do you watch television?
I do.
Do you really?
Yeah.
What are you watching right now?
I just finished Queen's Gambit
Okay, I heard some
on
good things about it.
Netflix.
Okay.
It's so good. I loved it. I was big into Scandal and Homeland and Game of Thrones. And so yeah, probably those are the ones that come to mind. But I'm a big Netflix person.
Cool. Because the reason why I ask it is because you said at one point in time you wanted to become a lawyer.
Yes.
Do you ever watch Suits?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
yeah, I
so-
watched many seasons.
Is that right?
Yes.
Because I see you as a female version of Harvey Specter, but nicer. And I'll tell you
Thank you
why.
for saying that.
I'll tell you why. One, he's a closer, right? And you're a closer. Secondly, I love how he dresses, and you dress really, really well.
Thank you, Michael.
So, I mean, you got this style, but if you were to describe yourself, are you more of Harvey or Mike Ross?
I would say I'm a bit Harvey, a bit Mike Ross, and a bit Olivia Pope from Scandal. I don't know if you watched Scandal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm Olivia Pope in the first 3 or 4 seasons, not in the last, because she gets really nasty.
Right.
But it was funny. After I watched a few seasons of Scandal, I thought, I'm going to treat my business and I'm going to pretend I'm Olivia Pope. Like, I'm going to find solutions. I'm going to dig deep. I'm going to go the extra mile. And oddly enough, I actually changed a couple of things in my business practice to kind of give that concierge one-stop service and find a solution. And sometimes the solutions cost you money, but get it done, make the client happy, and find a solution.
So you just said that you pretended you were Olivia Pope. I know you're well read. I've done enough research on you. I'm like, I like her. She reads. I'm a nerd. Have you read a book called The Alter Ego Effect?
No, I haven't.
So it's Todd Herman. So Todd Herman, if you're watching this, props to you. The Alter Ego Effect, in the book, he talks about this girl who's an amazing singer, but she was raised in a Christian family. And she eventually became a huge star, but couldn't prance around on stage half naked and doing all the dances. So she created this alter ego called Sasha Fierce.
Oh, wow.
Right? And Sasha Fierce is actually the alter ego of Beyonce.
Wow.
So Beyonce said, look, that's not me, but I had to go into character. Same thing. I'm a big basketball fan. I don't know if you're a big basketball fan, but
yes, I am.
Kobe Bryant,
Yes.
Black Mamba.
Yeah.
Kobe was going through some issues in his life when he was charged in Denver. And he said, he saw the movie Kill Bill. And he said, I'm going to be Black Mamba. Do you have an alter ego? Because you kind of said that you were her, but is she your alter ego?
I've actually never thought about that. I think I just took little pieces of who she was in the show and implemented into my business more as like, nothing is too difficult. Like if we can't find something, we'll find it. If we can't, if this isn't going to work, we'll find another way, instead of just saying, oh, sorry, we can't do that for you. But I'm such a horrible actor that I actually took acting lessons and
Did
was
you?
horrible. Yeah, true story. And that I even, you know what, it's so funny. I walked into my office the other day and was pretending something, and I had this whole scheme planned. I told one of the girls, I was like, just go along for it with it. And I walked in, and like the first 30 seconds I burst into laughter, and she's like, no, like I can't fake it. That whole fake it till you make it is not me.
Right.
I turn red, I start laughing, I get uncomfortable. So I don't know. I don't think I have an alter ego. No.
Well, you know, I think one thing I like about that is you're authentic in your answers and you're authentic in how you are. And I was telling my wife, I said, hey, I'm going to interview Tanya. And she's like, oh, she's so cool, like very authentic. One thing I loved about the authenticity that you do is the Eklund project.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was just to say, hey, look, this is me. You may see me on Instagram, but this is the real me. Like, how did that come to be? Because most people who are successful, they hide. You know, we put on a mask. And it allows you to be vulnerable. But like, where did that come from?
Well, I think, you know, as a realtor, you are in the public eye. And, you know, whether you're on a bus bench or a shopping cart, or I know all of these silly things that we do as realtors, but yes, I do them all. And so you become like just a person in a magazine. And so to your point, there's probably judgment, and maybe people don't call you because they don't know you and they may have preconceived ideas. And I wanted to kind of break those barriers and say, I'm a small town girl who grew up, you know, in an amazing family, and I have an amazing husband that I love. I have 2 little girls. I love my city. I'm passionate about my province. I love to give back. I love my career and what I've chosen. And these are some of the things I love to do. And it, you know what, I believe that telling your story now more than ever is so important because it creates a connection. It shows vulnerability, and vulnerability lets people in. And so it really kind of broke down those barriers of the shopping carts and the bus benches and the magazine ads. And it's like, oh, wow, like she's like me. She sometimes wakes up in the morning and, you know, doesn't look like she does when she, you know, walks out the door.
Her curlers
I had my rollers in my hair.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I did it to become more relatable to people and really to show people who I am.
Mm-hmm. Whose idea was it? Was it your idea or?
So this is crazy. I cannot take any credit.
Okay.
So, you know, Chris LaBelle.
Yeah, of course.
It was his idea.
No way.
So he had interviewed one other realtor, and he sat me down at Phil and Sebastian's in Marloop and pitched me this idea. And
wow.
I was like, I'm in. Like, give me a couple days, but theoretically I'm in.
Right.
And so Chris produced it, and his friend Jamie videoed it. And Jamie actually was one of the light, videographers on The Revenant. So, I mean, the quality of it is just phenomenal.
Oh, it's amazing.
And Chris is an excellent producer. It's really a gift of his, of connecting and producing. And so I think there were 8 or 9 of these, 4 or 5 minute segments. It took us like a year in total. I'm going to say from the time we started till end it, they were edited and produced. And I mean, we went back to my hometown in Wetaskiwin and went to the high school and the church that I grew up in and sat down with my parents at the home I grew up in on their couch. And, so it was a lot of work, but it was really rewarding.
I think in this world that we live in, that this digital world, to humanize the relationship, like that, this connection is very rare. People don't pick up the phones anymore. They text.
That's right.
So to allow people into your world, it's just taking that one step further, and also just shows that you're making an effort, right? Your social media is fire, by the way.
Thank you.
I am completely jealous. I want to know how you could. Every selfie looks really good, but so not too many people are into social media. You've been very successful in your social media journey. What's the next? Like Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this. He's like, the next one is master LinkedIn and all this other stuff. Is there going to be a TikTok?
No TikTok,
no?
and no TikTok and no Snapchat.
No, okay.
We told my daughter that's 7 that she couldn't go on TikTok. So I think that it's fair that her mother isn't. And Snapchat is just, I can't handle it. It's just too much. I think that Facebook and Instagram have been our main platforms. I'm not even personally a huge fan of LinkedIn because I get solicited so often. And I don't spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. We've just started kind of navigating through Pinterest, but I would say that Facebook and Instagram, we've been on for many years and was probably one of the first agents in the city to really start using it as a business tool that I saw anyways. And then I cannot take the credit for my social media for the last 2 years. Hales or Haley on my team is our social media marketing and maven, and she's really kicked it up a notch. She's the one who said we should start a podcast, and so we did that, and we're doing it. And then she says, what do you think of doing webinars? Yeah. And so she is just such an asset to my team and really handles all of that. I still have a big say in it because it's still me. So she doesn't write the content for what I was doing in this picture or what motivated me to take this picture. I still do a lot of the content because it's authentic and personal.
Right. That's amazing. I mean, the fact that you know you're not super strong in this type of social media, you hire somebody else. That takes a lot of humility. And when you're a high performer, sometimes I know a lot of my other bosses were micromanagers, and the fact that you're able to trust your team just says a lot about who you are. What I love about this conversation is it's a little bit more human. Like I'm starting to get to know you a bit more. So let's imagine it's Sunday. You're sitting there with the family. You're watching television. You got a popcorn. Netflix is on there, and you're super, super comfortable. And all of a sudden, you see $1 million listings. Is there a point in time do you think, you know what, I could kill these guys, or that's fake, or that's so scripted? Like, what are your thoughts when you see a show like that?
Well, I'm a Selling Sunset fan.
Okay.
But no, you know what, it's very interesting because I watched it years ago and all I thought was, wow, they actually say that to their clients and they actually talk behind their clients' back like that.
It's like, to show up on television.
I know. I mean, it is very staged. It is reality TV at its finest. We don't negotiate deals that way. Right. I mean, they negotiate $10 million deals over the phone in 5 minutes. And that is not the reality, not in our market. And I can't imagine, when you're dealing, rich people don't get rich by just, saying, sure, I'll take it, and that's kind of what they portray. And I'm sure there is some realism to it, but I do actually know a little bit about reality TV and I would say a lot of it is not really how it goes down. Now, is there a part of me that thinks it would be amazing to sell some of those beautiful residences in New York or LA? Absolutely. But, I think there's something about selling real estate in Canada. And my husband and I own real estate in the US, and so we got to experience, multiple times purchasing properties there. And to be honest, it's not the actual selling of real estate in the US is not much different than it is here, but it is on TV.
You kind of opened up a little doorway because you said you know a bit about a little bit about reality television.
Michael, I know I thought about that after. So years ago, and I'm not telling you what it was,
okay,
but I was on a reality TV show when I was 21. Yes.
Really?
Yes. And I'll leave it at that.
I am going to call my researchers and we will find this out in the next episode. So have you ever thought about saying, you are a mogul, you have all these different business ventures, whether it's a Dogtopia or a lending business, you're all over the place. Have you ever thought about producing, $1 million listings here in Calgary?
No, you know what, the thing about, again, about TV is the reality is very different than how it is. And selling real estate day to day is too boring for real television. Right. They have to have some scandal and some juice and, some crazy things happen. And I don't want any involvement in that. I really like my simple, quiet, doing my deals, running my business. Mm-hmm. And I have been approached, I would say 2 or 3 times in the last 7 to 8 years to get involved in shows that were coming to Calgary or coming to Canada. And I don't even know if any of them made it because I never followed them, but I'm not interested. I'm not interested to have a staged sale and a staged list and to drag your clients through that. Like some of them were actually that they wanted to follow you through the transactions. And to me, when I hear that takes away a level of professionalism that I would, believe that I run in the way that I run my business. So no, it is not something. And When I look at what the politicians in the world are going through right now, it doesn't matter if you're progressive, liberal, NDP, Green Party. It wouldn't matter who was governing us. Your name is, they're dragged through the mud, and to be in the spotlight in that way is just not appealing to me.
You touched on something about the importance of your name, and your name gets dragged. Essentially what we're talking about is your brand. And there's so many, we talked about Justin, how his brand is, you're all over billboards, and that's his thing. And you have mastered social media. How important is brand to being a realtor? Because it's difficult. There's 5,300 or something. How do you differentiate yourself now?
Brand is everything.
Right.
Your brand is your reputation. And if something happens to that brand, it's your reputation. And so I can't stress the importance. It's who I am. I'm the Tanya Eklund Group, and probably even more so because my name is the brand. Right. Versus if I had done, I don't know, Descartes Realty, or I'm just, I don't even know what that means. But, so I do believe that, how important is the Starbucks brand? How important is the Nike brand? I mean, they've written books about them and probably sung songs about them. So, I believe that is, it's intertwined in who you are.
Right. Well, the thing about the brand is it also holds you accountable. If you're out there saying, I'm a kind person, I'm approachable, I'm nice, I get back to you, people will call you out on that. I mean, Ellen just got called out. She said, hey, I'm a kind person, and she's really not. Yeah. And that's why your brand, in my eyes, is so authentic, because I've met you before, I've followed you, and you're exactly who you say you are. So I respect the brand. Do you know who Ryan Serhant is?
That name sounds so familiar.
$1 Million Listings.
Oh, yes. Sorry. I was going to say Serhant. And it's so funny because I just finished reading a book from one of the cast members on $1 Million Listing. Yep. And he has also written a book as well, or probably multiple ones, but I have not read his book.
I bring it up because he's created such a brand, and I think he's the #1 realtor in the U.S. It's huge.
More than Frederick?
I think so.
Are
yeah,
you
I know.
sure?
I think it's more than Frederick.
Frederick Eklund,
Really? That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah, I actually emailed him about 2 years ago, and basically, I don't even know what I said, but I was like, hey, we're both realtors, we both have the same name, we're both fairly successful, maybe we should meet.
Do you want to collab?
Yeah, I didn't hear back.
Well, Ryan, he started off as a hand model. He was in LA.
Yes.
And he wanted to be a model and just stumbled on becoming a realtor just to be able to pay the bills.
Yes.
Kind of like how you just stumbled on becoming the successful realtor. It happened. He didn't anticipate doing it. But he's taken that brand and he writes a book and he's doing all this other stuff. I look at him, I say, you know what? You're just too good looking. You're handsome, right? As a salesperson, I know this might be a little bit off topic, but what does appearance matter in selling? Is it a huge thing?
Huge. Michael, I break a nail and I try to hide it through the whole presentation.
Is that right?
Well, I do believe that, the old saying, dress for success. Mm-hmm. And it really is important. And unfortunately, we live in a society where, to your point, we are judged. Right. We're judged on the vehicle we drive. You can't drive too nice a vehicle because people will think you make too much money. Right. But you can't pull up in a beat up Chevy because people will think you can't pay your mortgage or your your lease payment. And so I think that there's a happy medium. And I'm very cognizant of that. I'm cognizant of what I wear. I'm cognizant what I wear when I meet certain clients. I drive a nice vehicle, but it's not the nicest vehicle. And I think you have to be mindful. If you drive up in a fully souped up, tinted out Range Rover, you could lose a client. We are not in LA. We're not in, we don't live on Rodeo Drive. And as much as people want to be successful, they don't want it shoved in their face.
Right.
And so I think that there's a level of maturity that you have to have when you meet people and really understand your audience. And I have all types of audiences. I deal with people who don't have a lot of money, but their house is their biggest investment. And it is just as important to me as the $3 million home that I sell. All our clients get the same level of service. It doesn't matter whether they sell 200 or 2 million. The level of service is the same, and it should be.
I love how you just called it out and said, hey, look, of course it matters, because I find that today's world is so hypersensitive.
Yes.
I said, hey, I've told a friend of mine, I said, you got to dress up a little bit. I mean, he's like, no, I'm being me. I'm authentic like me. I said, if I'm authentic like me, I'm in track pants and a baseball hat. Like, that is my comfort level. I dress up out of respect to the person I'm going to see. I'm saying, hey, you're important enough to me that I'm going to dress up just for this occasion. Right. So tell me, who's Tube Top Tanya? Speaking of wearing clothes.
Oh my gosh. Like, where did you even hear that?
I don't know.
Okay, well,
you talked about clothing here.
This is a really funny story. So I met my bestie, I think it was 18 years ago at Desperados, and she was a tub tart. We call them tub tarts.
Okay.
So she'd stand behind the tub and serve the alcohol. And she was in a tube top and a mini skirt. But I, around the same time, I joined Remax in 2000. And the first, maybe second or third day that I came to work, I think I was in a fairly tight black skirt, a pair of boots probably, and a black tube top, and likely felt that was appropriate for my first day. Came from the city. I bartended to get myself through university. I didn't have any clothes, nice clothes. Well, I had clothes. They just weren't like nice clothes. And I probably felt that was appropriate.
Right.
So it was one of those two stories. I don't know which one, because when I met Carrie, I think I was also wearing a tube top.
Right.
But back in the day, Michael, we wore tube tops. That's what we did.
So that is tube tops. So it's a legit, that's a true story.
It's a true story.
Tube Top Tanya. Interesting. We're evolving into this whole gig economy, right? And I kind of alluded to the fact that you were a successful business person, not just a realtor. Like, why? The real estate world is uncertain to begin with. Why have other ventures into that entrepreneurial space add other uncertainty? Because I have businesses, we've had conversations about that. It's like, do you love the pain? Like, do you love the uncertainty?
Well, I think like real estate now, I've been doing it for so many years, and it's kind of a well-oiled machine. And it's my passion. It's what I'll always do, 89% of the time. I also have a really great team behind me now. And so it's allowed me to maybe venture off into some other things more from an investment perspective, not from a time, because real estate really is full time. So I actually don't spend my time in other places, but I invest my money in other places. And I truly believe that if you want to be the best at what you do, you have to really focus on it. I don't know many people, and I'm not saying there isn't, because there are, but I don't know many people who have 3 or 4 different businesses but are the best at each business. And so when I veered off, into a couple of other these investment opportunities, I'm not involved in the day-to-day. The lending company that I started, it's you're lending money to people that maybe can't get financing from traditional banks. And that I started doing from a real estate perspective and offering bridge financing and, doing second mortgages for people. And then it kind of just morphed into some other more small business lending. And then my husband is involved in Dogtopia. Dogtopia is a doggy daycare, grooming and boarding. And again, I'm not involved in the day-to-day. I was, strictly an investor. My husband really wears the hat in that. And we have somebody that runs that for us. And yes, we have a dog.
Yep.
Everyone asked, do you have a dog? Yes. So yeah, I do really real estate. In fact, even in my listing presentations, I say this is what I do full time. This is my passion. It's my career. Do I dabble in some other things? Yes, but I don't have time to spend on other business ventures.
Because I was thinking about when you write your book, one of the early chapters is Tube Top Tanya and then Side Hustle Tanya, something like that. I was like, okay.
I like it.
So you've endured since 2000, of course, the tech boom and bust in 2000. Yeah. You've endured the Great Recession, 2008, a global pandemic, dropping oil prices. You've endured a lot in the real estate space. How do you continue to have a genuine smile?
Michael, I'm just a happy person. People ask me, I actually had a client that I had like not knowing, and met, and I sold him a house, and he said, I have to ask you, this was like a month ago. He's like, are you always this happy? Because he's
Right.
like, every time I've spoken to you, you're this happy. I'm like, no, I'm always usually this happy. And it doesn't mean that I don't have my days, but it's a choice. It's a choice that I live, especially this year, in a constant state of gratitude. I feel like I should be wearing a shirt that says #gratitude.
Yeah.
And so, and I find because some of the joy has been taken away from me, like we can't travel, we can't see our friends freely like we used to. I've learned to find joy in other places, and I've learned to watch what else is going on around the world in other countries, in very poor countries, and they're still able to find joy. There's someone had posted something on the Masaka kids, and it's in Africa, and it was these 3 little tiny kids dancing like you wouldn't believe. Like they had older clothes, no shoes, dirt. They were very poor, but the music and the dance, it was like, I posted on my Facebook. It brought, I watched it probably 10 times. I cried 2 times. And so I choose to find joy, and I choose to live with joy, because the alternative is not an option for me.
Right. Happiness is a choice.
It's a choice.
You know, you are a fitness buff.
Yes.
Hence the reason why I brought
The boxing gloves.
We're not going to box, right?
Oh, that's too bad.
But I brought that there. So, you know, as a go-getter, there's 24 hours in a day.
Yes.
How do you fit this in? Like, how important is fitness? Because fitness is hugely important for me.
Yes.
And when you start posting these things, one, it's vulnerable. You're out there
Yes.
sweating, and you don't look all you're not
Yeah.
glamorous, but
Yeah.
you're sweating.
Yeah.
So, like, how important is it to you?
It is, outside of being a parent, it's the second most important thing in my life. Being a parent and a wife would be the first. And it's because endorphins make me happy. I can have the weight of the world on my shoulders going into a workout. And by the time I come out, I'm okay. This isn't a big deal. I can do this. This is what I'm going to do. This is the solution. And it is my sanity. And I always said, I would never work out at home. Well, the week the pandemic was a thing here in March, we got a gym. We had a treadmill. We got free weights. We got mats. We got bands. We got balls. We got everything.
So you're the one that took all that stuff, because I couldn't find it. I was like, where's this stuff?
Totally. But it is a huge part of my life. And it always has been since high school. I, again, playing, ball for a number of years. And then I competed in fitness in my early 20s for a few years. Yeah, I did 3 different competitions. Cool. And then I started running because I didn't like the dieting and I love to eat. So I took up marathon running and ran a few of those. And then I was just 3 weeks out from running Boston. And for those of you that aren't from Calgary, training for Boston in April in Calgary is horrible because you're training in -30.
Right.
And so I would go out and I would have icicles like all on my eyelids. And I learned very quickly, you don't wear mascara when it's -30 and you're sweating. Right. And your limbs just never warmed up. And I was all excited. I qualified for Boston and Calgary. This was 9 years ago. And I'm going. And 3 weeks before the marathon, I almost died.
Oh, wow.
I had a pulmonary embolism and was in the hospital for a week and on blood thinners for 6 months. And I never ended up running Boston, so I guess qualifying will just have to suffice. But yeah, and so it's a huge part of my life.
Tell me a bit about your husband.
Yes.
Seems like a cool guy.
He is.
How would you describe him?
Thomas Chadwick Hughes is his birth name.
Okay.
And we call him Chad, or Chatty Waddy Bing Bong, as my girls call him. And he is the rock in my life. He's my #1 fan. I am more in love with him now after 13 years of marriage than I was when I met him. It's a deeper love. I say to people, it's not that you don't see your spouse after that many years and have these butterflies. That's not what marriage and love is about. It's so much more than that. It's, I love my husband. I'm attracted to my husband. I think he's amazing. We have these 2 beautiful girls together. He's an amazing father. I couldn't ask for a better father for our 2 daughters. And the love that we have is so much deeper and so it's just, I can't explain it. And we tell each other this all the time. Like, I think some people might even question it. Like, are they really that happy? But we are.
Right.
Like, even just the other day, I said, I am so blessed to go through this life with you. I wouldn't want anyone else.
You love him unconditionally, regardless of whatever decision he makes? Was that?
Well, it's funny you say that, because we were talking about certain circumstances.
Okay.
And I won't get into it on the podcast,
Right.
but we actually joked about a couple of things, and because that was brought up, and he's like, well, would you love me if I did this? I'm like, well, I'd love you if you did that, but not that. He's like, well, what about this and this?
So if he decided to change his style and dress like this all the time,
nice.
would you still love him?
It might be a bit hard.
Every day, though.
Oh, I know that was.
He looks good, though. Look at that stash.
2016, I was Sophie Loren and he was Burt Reynolds.
He looks good.
I think I look better than him.
Yeah, he looks great, though. He just pulls it off. If you decide to wear that,
oh gosh, just don't wear it to the bedroom.
On a serious note, yesterday I went to a funeral. And it's my godfather passed away. And I was excited to see him. And I didn't get a chance to say bye to him, right? Actually, I'm getting choked up talking about it. I didn't get a chance to say bye to him. And oftentimes we go throughout life without saying the things we truly mean to those that we love, right? I saw a picture that really makes me smile. And I just want you to describe your feeling when you see this.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to make me cry now. Yeah, I was about 2 or 3 weeks out from giving birth to Ruby, who just turned 4. Right. So that was almost exactly 4 years ago. And that was my grandma. She was 94, turning 95. Yeah. And she was just a light in the world. And I drove up to Edmonton. I went by myself. And I wanted to see her. She wasn't doing as well, her memory. But my grandma and grandpa lived across the field from us. Like, I would walk across the field. And my mom almost died when I was 6 of a very rare disease. And she spent a year rehabilitating herself with my dad. And so I lived with my grandparents for almost a year. And they were just such a huge part of my life. So that picture,
I loved it.
It makes me sad, but it brings me a lot of joy. So thank you for showing me.
Is she still around? Or?
No, she passed. So she passed, oh gosh, I think it's been 3 years now. Yeah.
If you could tell her one thing, what would you tell her?
That she was the best grandma ever. And she knew that, though. Our family is very open with our emotions. We tell each other we love each other. I grew up in that. So telling my grandma that I loved her and she was, my girl, she knew that.
This picture, the reason why it resonated, because my dad has early stages of dementia.
Okay.
And I will lose him in the next couple of years. And so one of the reasons why I'm doing podcasts like this is, he can watch.
Yeah.
So, one day Ruby and Ophelia are going to be 20. Mm-hmm. When they come home with their new boyfriends, what do you think they would describe mom? How would they describe mom?
They will describe mom as stern. They will let the guy know that I'm really the disciplinary in our marriage. But they will also say I will be the mom that they can go to no matter what. And no, I even say to Ophelia now, Ophelia, just tell me the truth and you won't be in trouble. Right. And because, at 7, they're starting to tell little white lies. Right. And I know they are. And so I say, Ophelia, you're going to be in more trouble if you don't tell me the truth. So just tell me the truth. And I say, thank you. I really appreciate you being honest with me. I'm not thrilled that you did this. And I don't believe that that's fair or right. But I love you and I forgive you and don't do it again.
They might be too young to watch this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
One day they're going to Google your name and this podcast is going to come up, right? 5 years, 10 years, whatever it might be. I love this picture. And it just, I really love it. You pay homage to your husband, but you have your 2 kids. When your kids watch this, episode 10 years from now,
Yeah.
what do you want to tell them? And you could look in the camera and tell them.
Oh, there's a camera there.
Oh, there's a camera right here and a camera right there. Or you're being filmed.
I don't know. What would I tell them? I would tell them that I'm honored that they had the opportunity to listen to it. And I'm honored to be their mom. I was then and I am now. And I hear a lot about raising girls and the challenges, and I can already see it that there's a bit of fight in both of them, but I'm ready for it. I was a feisty kid.
Yeah.
I wasn't the easiest kid on my parents. And but my parents managed it, and I remember how they did. And not that I'll raise my children exactly the same, but I think that they'd be like, that's my mom.
Love it. We are now entering the final part of this podcast, and it's called the Rise Round.
Okay.
So the Rise Round is essentially what the whole world really wants to know about Tanya Eklund, because everything else we can Google.
Yeah.
Kind of like what I did.
Yes.
Right. But there are questions that we are asking, and I'm just going to ask you a series of questions, very rapid fire, and just answer it as fast as you can with whatever is off the top of your head.
Okay.
And so it's called the Rise Round. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So Rise Round, ready, set, go. Number one, you have a striking resemblance to Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
Who is a better Wonder Woman, Linda Carter or Gal Gadot?
Gal.
Yeah, Gal's, she's next level.
I like her.
If you were a superhero, what would your superpower be?
What would my superpower be? Oof. You know what? I dream about flying, so I'd probably fly.
Cool. We talked about Harvey Specter in Suits,
Mm-hmm.
and in episode number 1, they call him the closer.
Mm-hmm.
What's your nickname?
Oh, gosh, Michael, what's my nickname? Well, people call me T. What's my nickname?
Because we got to get rid of the Tube Top Tanya. Right?
Yeah, well, thanks. Now we do.
Now the world knows about it.
Oh, what is my nickname? I don't know. Can you give me one?
Ooh, Terminator.
Okay, I'll go with that. Terminator.
Okay. So most realtors are very hungry. They're competitive. And, they're kind of like athletes. Athletes are very competitive.
Yes.
And I know you like skating. You've skated before, right?
Yeah.
So in 1994, during the Winter Olympics, Tanya Harding breaks fellow American skater Nancy Kerrigan's legs. Hyper competitive. As a competitive person, what is the craziest thing you've done to win a deal?
What is the craziest thing I've done to win a deal? Oh my gosh, these are really hard questions. To win a deal. I don't know. I mean, there's different types of winning. You could win a listing. You could win in a multiple offer. Okay, this might not be as juicy as you would hope it would be, but in a multiple offer situation, when I am representing a purchaser, I have them do up a beautiful letter about their family and why they should own this home. And you tug on the heartstrings of the seller that has to choose between two offers. They're likely going to pick the one that has the pretty story.
I love it. Perfect. See, closer. Salesperson. So in your early 20s, you traveled to Africa to help the less fortunate, which is amazing. I love the pictures. When your two kids are 20, what country do you want them to visit?
Well, we're going to take them before they're 20. We'll take them probably when Ruby would be 10 or 11 and Ophelia would be 14 or 15. And we'll take them back to Africa to the family that I keep in touch with there.
Love it. So using only 3 words, what comes to mind when you hear this name? Philip Induga.
Oh, love, compassion, drive.
Love, compassion, drive. So you're a runner, and you've been known to run along the river.
Yeah.
If Nike, Reebok, Under Armour, and Adidas approach you for a shoe deal, what do you pick?
Nike, Under Armour, Adidas. Or Reebok. I would say Adidas.
Really?
I think Adidas.
It's anything is possible. I think that's their tagline.
Yeah, I like their shoes. As a runner, I like their shoes more than Nike.
I'm a big Adidas fan. Cool. So there's boxing gloves here. We're not going to box because you would kick my ass.
Okay.
You've been known to kick ass in heels and in the ring. If you're to step in the ring with anyone, who would it be? Just to unload. There's one person in the world celebrity, whoever, just to be like, oh.
I would say one celebrity in the world that The Rock.
Really? He's the best. I love The Rock.
I love The Rock, and my husband knows I love The Rock.
Okay.
I think he'd be fun.
I
That's
think he's
why.
just the coolest human being.
He's so cool. And yeah, I just like to spend time with him. And if it could be in a boxing ring, then great.
Your selfie game is fire. What piece of advice would you give me to elevate my selfie game?
Well, to be completely fair, Haley helps me with my selfies, and she tells me it's about light, angle, what direction you face, either like into the sun or away from the sun.
Okay.
I don't have a selfie stick. So I would say light and angle.
Okay. Well, I think we have a good light here, and I think my angle's good. Can I have a selfie with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
There we go. All right. So that's out of the way. So, in terms of ranking best arms, because I've seen your arms, pretty ripped. Michelle Obama, you or Michelle Pfeiffer in her prime, who has the better arms?
I'm going to go with me.
Oh, nice. That's confidence. So I was raised by an amazing woman. My mother is a fantastic lady. And I'm constantly impressed by women leaders like yourself. Hillary almost did it. Kamala Harris is one step away from doing it. Who do you think would be a great female president?
Who do I think would be a great female president? That is a great question. Do they have to be politically inclined?
It could be. You know what? I'm just waiting for Oprah.
Well,
I'm a big Oprah.
Yeah, well, I do love Oprah.
Maybe Sheryl Sandberg. She's good too.
Yeah, she wrote a great book, Lean In.
Lean In.
Yeah, I think she would be. She is. Yeah, Sheryl Sandberg. I'm just trying to think.
You should call Sheryl out because it will tag her in this podcast. So Tanya's calling you out.
Sheryl Sandberg, I think that you should be the next female president of the United States of America.
And you approve this ad.
And I approve this ad.
Right.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I don't, to be fair, I don't follow a lot of American politics. I think it's in our face right now, so we have to. I don't have a big political, I try to stay away from it. But I think as an adult, you follow it more because it affects you more than it did as a child. It affects who your leadership is and what they believe in and what you believe in. And so I do follow Canadian politics more now than I even did. I mean, to be fair, and this is horrible, but I don't think I voted until I was 30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like I don't, because I didn't ever feel affected in my 20s by who was running. It just didn't affect me. And now that I have kids and a family and our world is the way it is, I'm very, very interested in it. American politics, I don't know. I was on the treadmill today and was watching, Trump and Biden and Kamala, and I don't know. It seems like a dog and pony show.
I do think that we do need more female leaders.
I agree.
I'm in the corporate world, investment world. It's majority men. So I think we do need leaders. I love Malala. Malala's fantastic.
And I would
love for her to run at some point in time.
She's amazing.
I don't know if she'll ever run for
I don't know that she would. She does not.
She
seems very voiced in her
education on
yes,
women.
Yeah, in India, and she's a beautiful human being.
I saw a picture of you. I won't get into the story, but you just finished snorkeling with Ophelia.
Yeah.
And you were ripped. Right, so you're shredded.
Yeah.
I have the picture here. I won't show it. But if you're stuck on a deserted island and you can choose one book, one album to listen to, and one utility tool, what would you choose?
The book I would choose is Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren.
Oh, Rick Warren. Great book.
Yeah. And there's a background to that, why I would choose that as well. And then what was the second thing?
What album would you listen to?
Album would be, I'm just trying to think what I'm really enjoying right now. Probably like Casting Crowns or something uplifting.
And utility tool?
A knife.
Knife. For me, I was thinking, what utility tool would I have? It would probably be flint because I don't know how to make a fire.
Oh, okay.
Just thinking about that.
Well, I actually did make a fire on a beach one time.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Like legit fire, not
Legit.
without a match? Or?
Yeah, legit.
All right, you're hardcore.
Yeah, in San Diego.
So you're still on the same deserted island, but it's not deserted anymore.
Okay.
You have Katie, Kobe, Janet, Britt, Peyton, and Haley along with you. So there's 7 of you guys.
Yeah.
So you are the deciding factor of the vote.
Yeah.
Who's getting voted off first?
Oh, you can't ask me that. Well, I could tell you who would leave first.
Okay.
It would probably be Britt, because Britt is like a no BS girl. She'd be like, I am out of here. I'm not saying she'd be voted off first, but she'd be the first one to be like, see ya.
Who would be the most courageous to go into the jungle to check out that noise that they're hearing?
Me.
Really? Adventure. Okay. And who would be comedic relief when you know that a jaguar is roaming the perimeter to make you guys laugh? Keep it light.
Janet.
Okay. So you are a master of delegating, collaborating, and just being a leader. If you could work with one leader as a mentor, who would it be?
If I could work with one leader as a mentor, who would it be? I would say Richard Branson.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's a risk taker and adventurer. He would just be fun, I think.
He is. I got to meet him, actually. I
Really?
spent a week with him on his island, on Necker Island.
Come on.
I did.
No way.
Yeah.
Is he as real as...
He really is. He's a wonderful human. I had a couple really nice discussions. The one thing I like about Richard is he really thinks about his answers, and he really... when you'd ask him questions and what others would, he wouldn't necessarily answer right away. He would really process things. He lives with intent.
Right.
Even though he's had so much success, when you get him in a small group, there's humility to him. And he's a giver. He's huge into philanthropy and giving back to the world and making it better. Cool. And he's also reached a level of success in the business world that not many have.
Yeah. He would be a good one. Yeah. I was actually thinking... maybe Elon Musk, just because I want to be like, are you serious about us moving to Mars? Like,
he's just too weird for me.
Well, there's this social awkwardness about him that just makes him endearing. So, you mentioned you like Netflix.
Yes.
Right. Okay. During the filming of this show, let's say there's a potential lockdown, a further lockdown that's happening, and you're limited to 5 people and only 5 people. Imagine you can invite these 5 people for a Netflix wine and pizza night, and they have to be famous.
Oh,
who would they be?
The Rock.
Okay, The Rock. Okay,
because he's funny and
hilarious.
Attractive.
Yeah.
So it'd be The Rock. It would be who else do I absolutely love that's famous? I would actually say Oprah. I got to see Oprah when she was here, and it was like being in the presence of greatness. Yeah. And frankly, when she has a few glasses of wine, I think she'd be really fun.
She's fun.
It would be famous. Who else do I really like? Meryl Streep.
Oh, really?
I love Meryl.
She's a great actress.
Yeah, she's
Fantastic.
Great. I would also pick Chris Rock.
Chris Rock, yeah, that's comedic relief. Yes. Comedic relief for him just imagine the banter betwing him and The Rock.
Exactly.
I'm the real Rock.
Exactly. Yeah. And someone else famous. I want to say this, but I don't.
Just do it.
Well, if it was like, it's going to happen right away, I would actually be very curious to talk to Donald Trump.
Is that right?
I think he would just be well, especially now.
Well, he's authentic.
Well, he is authentic.
Like, this is me.
I mean, I think he would be kind of interesting just in light of everything that's going on.
Well, you guys would, the interesting thing is he has such a big a personality. He's anti-bully proof.
Yeah.
And then all of you guys are anti-Trump. So he's like, that would be quite an intense Netflix special. He would probably say, watch the, what's that show he had before?
Oh,
You're Fired.
Oh, You're Fired.
The Apprentice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're a dog lover. Name one movie with a dog that made you cry.
Oh, the Harley one, where he dies at the end. Oh, it was horrible. Owen Wilson was in it.
Oh, I didn't see it. I heard.
Oh, something Harley, Owen
Wilson. Oh, Marley and Me.
Marley and Me?
Is it Marley?
Yeah, Marley and Me.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
I got 2 dogs, so I'm on this dog vibe right
it was
now.
Marley and Me. And it was, oh, man. I mean, why make a movie like that? It's like crushing.
Okay. Don't worry, we're going to uplift this. You have
good.
like 2 more questions left. Why do you think people are not living up to their potential?
Fear.
How do you address the
many
fear?
things. Oh, fear is it's a beast, you know. Yeah.
What do you fear?
What do I fear? I fear now it would be very different than what you would maybe if I would have answered that question 3 years ago. I fear that my daughters are going to live in a world for paying for the deeds of today.
Wow. Yeah.
That's what I fear.
Very, very powerful. If you had 60 seconds with your 18-year-old self, what would you tell her?
Don't care what people think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, live your life the way you want to live it. But don't care what people think. And now today I can honestly sit here and tell you that for the most part I don't. I'd be lying if I said there's circumstances where I haven't been hurt from some. I've had a lot of hurt this year, a lot of hurt. And so I'm not saying that you don't care at all, but all that little chitter chatter that goes on in the back. I mean, when you're 18, you care what everybody thinks.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you feel right now?
Good. Relaxed.
You're so chill. You're so chill. So what are you currently working on right now that you want to tell the audience, and how can we find you?
Yeah. Well, the two things I'm working on are my podcasts.
Cool.
So it's called The Vow, which is Voice of Women, and it's the sharing of real life stories to empower other women. So it's we have men that listen to it, but it is geared towards women. We've had some amazing guests, and all of our guests have been amazing. I shouldn't say some, all very different walks of life. It's not about entrepreneurship in any way. It's just about real women and getting through life. I'm just starting webinars, and those are going to be basically, I found that there's a huge need for mentorship and coaching in my industry. And I was realizing I couldn't have 15 coffee dates a week. So I decided to create a webinar series, which will be released next year. It's a lot of work, and they're going to be paid webinars. It's going to be like online coaching for the real estate industry, hopefully throughout North America.
Love it. You know, Tanya, that was the fastest hour and 10 minutes.
Fast. Wow.
It was fast. And I really enjoyed it. I thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I follow a lot of famous people and influencers. And one of the things when I'm watching them, I ask myself, are they real? Is this the real person, or am I just following an avatar or a product, or whatever it might be? And so, you know, going through this, initially I was thinking about, I want to learn all about real estate and all that stuff. What I got out of it was just so much more of things that, you know, I didn't know you're such a rock fan, like things like that we don't know. But I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to do that, to be vulnerable, to open up, and let us peer into the world of Tanya Eklund. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. I wish you all the best. I wish you, you know, as soon as we're out of 2020, I know you're going to crush 2021. You have these amazing things, anything that we can do to help. And for all of you guys listening and watching, if you like what you heard, reach out to Tanya. She's an amazing realtor, a fantastic person, a mentor. And if you're looking for someone to be inspired and look up to, you know, you have one in Calgary, right? There's a lot of people who put on a persona. We have a real person here that is very approachable. So guys, if you like what you heard, subscribe, click, comment, message, tell me what you loved about this podcast. And again, we're trying to create this community of amazing, amazing people because we just have them in our backyard. And it's just a true honor and pleasure to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciated it.
Cool. Thank you. Take care, guys.